Do you think you can make any additions in January to this, given the squad wasn't built with this kind of system in mind?
We don't have that possibility in January if we don't take some players. So you know the situation better than I am. So it's not the case that I'm arriving here and I can spend a lot of money changing all the team. You know the situation, so it's not a point to talk about that.
What about those who might say, well, listen, you've changed a lot, you'll change the team, you'll change the players, maybe change the formation, maybe think about changing the formation?
It's not about the formation. We play against Arsenal, we play really well the formation. We play against Liverpool, we go to Europa League final in the disaster season with the same system. The system is not important. We can play with 3 defenders, 4 defenders, 5 defenders. That doesn't matter. What matters is that we need to be different. And in the end, it doesn't matter if we recover or not. It's the signs that the team gave during the game. The beginning of the game. So I know that the best team won, the only team that was on the pitch. The best players lose because one team can win against any group of players, and I think that the team and the players spoke really loud today. So that's it. And we lost, the best team won.
The team and the players spoke really loud. What do you mean by that? Could you?
Yeah, I think it's really clear what they spoke. So let's move on from this day. And I think was really clear for everybody what happened today.
You spoke about bad signs. Let's break them through a little bit. Defensively, why do you think they had so much space, especially in the first half?
I don't know. It's not just the space, but the way we start the game without any intensity, all the idea of the pressure. We were completely lost, and it's hard to explain. That's why I think they spoke really loud.
But ultimately we couldn't get over the line and get an equalising goal. But I think you can see that the players are fragile and they need to build themselves up though, because it's up to them now. They've got to respond.
That's it. Do you feel this is a squad devoid of confidence, and again an Achilles heel is conceding goals?
Without a doubt, and then you concede a goal and then the confidence hits them as well. So confidence is one of the most powerful things in football. So they've got to, when you don't have confidence, you have to dig deep and you have to battle, grind, fight, work, win games, and then the confidence comes back. But they're experienced players, they're talented players, and as I said, I challenge them to regroup, and it's over to them. Someone's going to come in and lead them, and they need to make sure that they've got a lot to play for this season. This team's still good enough to achieve success this season, but they've got to dig deep and find a way within themselves.
Manchester United fans, can someone now tell Jason Wilcox to step down from the office, come to the touchline, and start doing all the things he was allegedly telling Amorim to do? Yes, let him now take the interim coach role and do those things he was forcing Amorim to do. I really want to know when it became very normal for a sporting director to start telling a head coach what formation to play. Because this is exactly what I have been talking about for a very long time, but the whole world refused to listen. I kept saying it again and again, but nobody wanted to understand what was really going on. Everyone was crying about a back four, pundits were shouting about a back four, fans were screaming back four like it was some magic solution. There is always an agenda, there is always something new to shout about, always something to distract us from the real issues. Amorim said the exact same things Fletcher later came out to say. He spoke openly about the players' mentality, he talked about their body language not being right. He talked about how they weren't winning second balls, how the intensity wasn't there, how they weren't doing enough to win football matches. He said the truth. He also made it very clear that he needed players in every position, not just a goalkeeper. He wanted to improve the squad and, more importantly, improve the mentality of the players. And people don't want to hear this, but I will tell you the truth. What Amorim was working on started improving. Yes, it wasn't perfect, and nobody ever said it was perfect, but it started working. Look at the evidence. After those losses to Grimsby Town and Manchester City, something changed.
Down by Casemiro. Casemiro through to Cunha. Cunha strikes it home. Given away again. Casemiro on the edge of the D. He's going to get a right foot shot away. Big deflection. Brian Mbumo. Mbumo at the Stretford end. Brian Mbumo
We beat this same Brighton at Old Trafford, we beat Sunderland at Old Trafford, we went to Anfield and beat a Liverpool team we hadn't beaten in years.
Harry Maguire! Manchester United's big game player!
A team that won us 7-0 during Ten Hag time, and also won us 5 and 4-0 during Ole time, totally 9-0 in one season, but Amorim ended that in Anfield.
Now they've gone unbeaten, they're 7th in the table. What do you think their aim is now? I mean, it used to be, it was title or nothing for Manchester United. Right now, after a poor season last season, I think they finished 15th in the table, what would be a good season this season?
I think they'll have an eye on where they're sitting at the minute, the way they're performing, the way the confidence and the...
We're only 1 point outside the top 4, I should say.
That's exactly, so where they're sitting at the minute with everything that's going on. I think top 4 they'll have an eye on. They'll be fancying, look, we can have a go. If we continue to perform, we continue to develop, they'll have their eye on that top 4, I'm sure. But
there was improvement, there was fresh air. That same team that had no intensity suddenly started showing intensity. That doesn't happen by accident. Amorim didn't just train the players on the pitch, he worked on their mentality. And even though it wasn't fully polished, anyone who was being honest could clearly see the improvement in how this team approached games. Look at Nottingham Forest. A team that beat us twice last season. But this season was different. Yes, they came back into the game in the second half, but this time the team refused to lose. Look at Tottenham, a team that beat us 4 times last season. But this season, even with 10 men, this team refused to lose. That tells you something. That is a team that has grown mentally, that is a team that is starting to believe again. But as fans, we don't recognize improvement when we see it. We want everything to be perfect overnight, we want instant results without patience. We could clearly see a pattern of play forming, but no, we wanted a back 4. It's like we always want something new all the time. We get tired so easily. We also forget so quickly. We have been playing a back 4 for many years now, so what exactly has it given us? Before Amorim came, we were shouting, change the system, try a new formation. Even the pundits were shouting it. Now suddenly, everyone wants to go back to what hasn't worked for years.
The fact that he almost at this moment is flip-flopping between systems, and it started to look like he was getting somewhere, or maybe moving to a back 4. He went back to the 5 at the back against Wolves, and possibly one of the worst performances that you'll see from a team this season against Wolves, I would say. But no matter what it is, I don't think he is in any position whatsoever to be questioning the people who appointed him.
Why not?
Because he's not good enough. He's not good enough to be Manchester United's manager.
And don't get me started on the pundits. They talk and talk, but trust me, most of them don't know anything about coaching. Gary Neville said Amorim is not good enough to coach Manchester United. This is the same Gary Neville who was sacked at Valencia in 4 months, the same man who lost 7-0 to Barcelona, the same man who couldn't survive in management. Now tell me, what does a man who was sacked in 4 months really know about coaching at the highest level? All he knows how to do is sit in a studio and tear down another man's job. And somehow, people listen to that. Now, like I said, everything was not perfect under Amorim, nobody is denying that. Our second halves were poor at times, and there were games where we clearly struggled to sustain our level. But one thing we must be honest about is how we improved our attack and also how we started games. With Amorim, we almost always started games better. We started scoring first, that is a fact. And that was him solving a problem we had suffered with for many years, which was always chasing games and relying on comebacks. He addressed that directly. He spoke about it, and you could see it in our performances. Yes, the second halves were an issue, but starting games strongly and scoring first was progress, real progress. Now look at the last 2 games with the back 4 that everyone was shouting for. What happened? We conceded first. And once again, we were trying to do comebacks. That is exactly the problem Amorim was trying to fix. But people ignored that because they were too focused on formations instead of outcomes. Amorim also said very clearly that he needed to improve the squad, that there were still many areas that needed reinforcements. That wasn't an excuse, it was reality. We keep comparing ourselves to other teams, but the truth is we don't have even half the squad depth or quality they have. Look at Manchester City. With all the quality and depth in their squad, they still went out to sign Semenyo. Look at Arsenal, they have at least 2 players in every single position, and not just any players but quality players. Do you think they are competing for the league by magic? Football does not work like that. Even Arteta's journey proves this. It wasn't easy for him at the beginning. He finished 8th in his first season, then 5th in his second. Arsenal spent 2 years without Champions League football, but they didn't sack him. Do you know why? Because the Arsenal board knew there was a clear plan to rebuild the team, sign the right players, and add quality over time. From 2023 till now, Arteta has signed more than 30 players. That is not a joke, that is not a coincidence. And now Arsenal are constantly challenging for the league. There is no miracle in football. Arteta had an idea, he had a clear pattern of play. Nobody was shouting at him to change from a back 4 to a back 3 or a back 5. Nobody was telling him to abandon his system. The club stuck to the plan, the board backed him, and today we are seeing the results. It is only a matter of time before Arsenal win the league. Now look at Manchester United. There was also a plan here with Amorim. There was an agreement to give Amorim 3 years to show what he could do.
So Amorim gets at least the rest of the season then?
Amorim, he's a good guy. Yeah, I mean,
that's not the same thing. He's a good guy. It's not the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Ruben, he needs to demonstrate that he's a great coach over 3 years.
So you give him 3 years?
Yeah, that's where I would be.
Yeah.
3.
Then suddenly, the club decided there was no more money to sign players, even when it was obvious how thin the squad was due to injuries and AFCON. Instead of supporting the coach, the sporting director, Wilcox, who came from Southampton, suddenly starts telling the coach what formation to play. Since when does a sporting director tell a head coach what formation to use? The board already knew there was no money. So why hire a coach whose entire identity is built around a back 3 if you already knew you wouldn't support him with the players needed to make it work? From the beginning, the club knew Amorim plays with 3 at the back. They went for him because there was supposedly a plan to give him the players he wanted. Then halfway through, they changed their minds. Suddenly, there is no money anymore. Suddenly they sack the coach after saying they will give him 3 years. If you can't buy players right now, that alone should be enough reason to fully back the coach and let him achieve whatever he can with what he has for this season. But instead, you want Champions League football for the revenue, without giving him the tools he needs to get there. That makes no sense. It's like sending a hunter to kill a lion without giving him a gun. How exactly do you expect that to work? But funny enough, Amorim was slowly getting that Champions League spot, but they sacked him because he said everyone should do their job while he does his own job. They sacked him because he spoke the truth and refused to be a puppet to the board. The truth is Amorim still worked with what he was given. That is the part people keep ignoring. He didn't sit down and complain, he didn't refuse to work. He used the players available to him and the player bought in the attacking sector to clearly improve our attack. You could see it with your own eyes. Suddenly, we were scoring more goals, suddenly, we were creating more chances. The numbers backed it up and the performances showed it. That did not happen by accident, that was coaching, that was structure. That was an idea starting to take shape. Yes, we still conceded many goals, but that is because the work was not finished, that is the truth. You cannot rebuild quarter of a team and expect perfection. We still needed midfielders, we still needed defenders, we still needed full-backs, and most importantly, we still needed proper backup players. Because every time we made substitutions, you could feel the game drop. The intensity drops, the quality drops, the control drops. Not because of tactics, but because there is simply no quality on the bench to maintain the level. This is not rocket science. You cannot compete at the highest level without squad depth. You cannot expect a team to play intense football for 90 minutes when the moment you make a change, the level completely falls off. And even beyond depth, we have to be honest with ourselves, some of the players we currently have are simply not good enough to be playing for Manchester United. That is not disrespect, that is reality. You cannot build a serious, competitive Manchester United with an incomplete squad, average depth, and players who cannot maintain standards. No coach in the world can fix that without proper backing. Look at what Dalot played yesterday. Be honest with yourself. Attacking, he didn't offer enough. Defensively, he was exposed again and again. Now ask yourself a very serious question. Is this the level of player we want to rely on if our aim is to qualify for the Champions League? Is this the standard that should be acceptable at Manchester United? When you watch the game closely, you don't even need deep analysis to see it. The quality just isn't there. And it's not only about Dalot, he is just one clear example of a bigger problem. This team, as currently constructed, is simply not good enough to compete at the level we claim we want to be. But instead of the pundits pushing this very obvious and important agenda, they keep distracting everyone with formations and systems. Back for this, back three that. Today, we have seen it clearly. The back four is not the solution, just like the back three was never the real problem. The problem has always been the quality of players on the pitch. You can switch formations 10 times, you can change systems every week, but if the players are not good enough, nothing will change. What we need is not a tactical tweak, what we need is a complete rebuild from top to bottom. Our owners are not doing enough, the board is even worse. Everything from the very top of this club is not right, and that dysfunction trickles down to the pitch. Yet, every single time, it is the coach that pays the price. Every coach that comes here ends up suffering for the same problems they did not create. And the irony is unbelievable. Just 2 matches under Fletcher and he has already pointed fingers at the players, talking about their performances and mentality. Amorim said these exact same things, word for word. He said the players were not doing enough. And what happened? They sacked him. That tells you everything you need to know about where the real problem at Manchester United truly lies. It is unbelievably easy to score against us, and that alone tells you everything. We have conceded goals with a back 5, with a back 4, with a back 3, with every possible setup you can think of. That reality should finally end this formation debate once and for all. It clearly shows that this is not about the coach and it is not about the system being used, it is about the players on the pitch. The quality is not there, the concentration is not there, the aggression is not there, and no formation in world football can hide that. But instead of fixing this problem properly, the owners have chosen to turn Manchester United into a business rather than a football club. They have filled the boardroom with people who think they know football better than the coach, people who feel comfortable dictating formations and styles from above. And that raises a very serious question. Why sign a coach in the first place if the board will still tell him what to do? If that is the case, why not just hand the job to Wilcox right now and let him go to the touchline and do all those things he was telling Amorim to do? Talking is very easy. Sitting in offices and making decisions is very easy. But doing the actual work, standing on the touchline, dealing with pressure, injuries, thin squads, and underperforming players, that is a completely different thing. And now I am really curious. I genuinely want to hear what Gary Neville will say next. Who is he going to blame now that Amorim is no longer here? Because the goals will still go in, the same mistakes will still happen, and the same players will still switch off. Amorim is gone, so what is the next excuse? That is the question everyone should be asking right now. And this is exactly why I am fully convinced that the owners do not truly care about Manchester United as a football club. Look at the situation carefully. They knew there is no money, they know the club is drowning in massive debt, they know this squad needs a full rebuild and that rebuilding requires serious investment in players. So if they genuinely cared about the future of Manchester United, the logical and responsible thing to do would have been to sell the club to suitors who had the financial power to clear the debts, invest properly, and rebuild this team the right way. Those bidders were ready to take on everything, the assets and the liabilities, and reset this club completely. But the owners refused, not because it was best for Manchester United, but because they still wanted to hold on to ownership and control. Instead, they chose to sell a portion of the club to Ineos so that everyone at the top could still benefit financially, while the club itself remained stuck. And now look at the consequences. Fans are the ones suffering, Ticket prices keep going up, the atmosphere is getting worse, the squad is thin, incomplete, and lacking quality. Even Jim Ratcliffe, who was supposed to help fix this mess, is now saying there is no more money to buy players. So where exactly is the solution in all of this? There is none. This was never about rebuilding the club properly, it was about preserving ownership and profit. And that is why nothing is changing. That is why coaches come and go. That is why players underperform, because there is certainly no quality. That is why we keep going round in circles. If we, as fans, do not push the right agenda, nothing will ever change at Manchester United. If we keep arguing about formations, managers, and systems while ignoring the real problem at the top, this club will never move forward. A football club cannot be run like this and expect success. If the owners are not willing to support the club the way a serious football institution should be supported, if they are not willing to invest, rebuild, and clear the mess they created, then the only honest solution is for them to sell the club completely and walk away. Because without proper ownership, without real backing, without a clear football-first vision, there is absolutely no way out of this situation, and there is no path back to greatness for Manchester United.